almost flipped a switch and suddenly temperatures dropped and plummeted below freezing. Maybe you feel like you're going through a winter season in your life spiritually or emotionally or circumstantially when you look around at what's going on. Maybe you don't live in a cold place, but maybe life itself is cold right now. Well, I'm glad you've joined me tonight. I want to talk to you about winter and about winter seasons and about how not to waste your winter, whether we're talking about the next 3 or 4 months in New England, or whether we're talking specifically about the season that God has allowed you to enter into in your life, in your marriage, in your job, in your forward momentum in life. Maybe you feel like everything has just frozen, locked solid in ice, like you're going nowhere. And you would say, yeah, life feels kind of wintry right now. Well, stay with me. These next few moments, we're going to talk about how not to waste your winter and what God does during winter seasons. Thanks for joining me for what would normally be our regular Wednesday night Bible study for Emmanuel Baptist Church. I hope that this video will not only be seen by our whole church family. And church family, I hope you'll share it with others in the church family and encourage others to listen. I do truly want to encourage you as we have physically, meteorologically entered into a winter season now for the next several months. But I've also invited lots of friends that normally connect into Emmanuel either by podcast or by live stream or through Enough for Today to join us for this time as well. And the Lord just laid on my heart to take one more week out of our 1 Thessalonians Hopeful Life series and to share these thoughts with you. I'll also post them on my blog tomorrow, and I hope that they will be an encouragement to you. So, what does God say about winter? And I just want to do a quick survey with you, and then I want to give you 11 ways, 11 tips. Practical. Tonight's real practical. A lot of times I'm expositional right through Scripture. Most of the time I am. Tonight's more just practical, me visiting with you. I want to put tools in your hands to lead yourself and your family and those you love through this winter season, both spiritually and physically, circumstantially, whatever winter looks like to you. Well, the first time winter shows up in Scripture is Genesis 8. And this is God promising after the flood that while the earth remains, there would be seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. So I have good news for you, okay? And I don't know, the good news is not about the election. The good news is not about COVID. The good news is not about vaccines. I don't know how to give you any of that good news, but I have really good news, okay? The sun is going to rise tomorrow. I can promise you that. The sun will rise. Winter also will run its course, and it will not remain. So we're not going to be frozen in place. And whatever the environmentalists predict about global warming, it's not really going to be catastrophic. It's not going to happen because God promised that as long as there is an earth, that he would give us the transition of days and the transition of seasons. So you have really great news tonight, and that is that the sun will rise and winter will not last. And by the way, that goes for your personal winter as well. If you've come into a winter season in your life, it is temporary. It's not permanent. It's not the new normal. It's not indefinite. You might not know when it's going to end. It might last longer than you want it to. But rest assured, my friend, this is a season to be stewarded. It is not the end. And you are not hopeless. You are going to do some things right now that are going to make your spring and summer flourish with harvest and fruit. And now's the time to get ready. So God promises there would always be winter and summer and seed time and harvest and day and night. So isn't that good news? That's awesome news. Psalm 74:17, the psalmist said that God set all the borders of the earth and that God made summer and winter. So I have good news for you. This season we are entering into, you might hear me occasionally, almost in jest, kind of complain about winter. I love summer. I actually love winter. I just have to decide to love winter. And it's switching a channel in my mind. So toward the end of summer, I'm always wishing for a couple more weeks of warmth and sunshine and long days. But you know what? By about right now, I just said to my wife a little while ago, I wish it was flurrying outside. I wish it would just blow up with snow. I wish we'd get a really good, beautiful snow right now. There are some really special things about winter, but one of the special things about it to me is that God made the winter. He made the winter seasons of our weather patterns. He made the winter seasons of our life seasons as well. And you'll find, no matter what age you are, or no matter what life stage or where you are, just like summer turns to fall and fall turns to winter and winter turns to spring, life is somewhat seasonal, and you'll come through some winter seasons in your life. God made those seasons, and he accomplishes some very, very important things if you'll let him. Well, later in the scriptures, Jesus talked about at the end of time, and when the tribulation comes, that they should pray that their flight would not be in winter. Don't want to spend a lot of time there, but in Acts 27, the Apostle Paul came into a port that was not good to stay in for winter, and decided to go to Phoenix, and there he would winter. This was a haven on the island of Crete, which was toward the southwest and northwest of the island of Crete, and this was on his way to Rome. He's under arrest from Jerusalem, journeying now by ship on the way to Rome. And they ended up wintering on the island of Crete, or they were planning to anyway. And so here's something I want to mention about this. We live in a culture that is 24/7. We've got all the modern technology, the transportation. We can have snow removed within minutes or hours of its fall. We've figured out ways so that the weather patterns really don't impede much of our lifestyle. They really don't slow us down all that much. But that wasn't always the case. And the Apostle Paul and first century believers would have had patterns to their lives. And the winter would have been a time to generally slow down and to steward some stationary time. It would have been a time to probably rest more and wait quietly and patiently, and yet I'm sure the Apostle Paul used the time to teach and write and study and prepare and look forward to the breaking of the weather so that he could resume his travel. But he didn't waste the winter. He intentionally entered into the winter. He intentionally decided where to winter. In fact, we come to 2 Timothy chapter 4 toward the end of his ministry, and he's writing to Timothy and asking him to come visit. And he says, "Do thy diligence to come before winter." You know why Paul wanted Timothy to come before winter? Because if Timothy came and got there before winter, he would have had all winter with Paul. And Paul would have had friendship, companionship, fellowship. They would have been able to mentor each other, or Paul would have been able to mentor Timothy and prepare him for future ministry. It would have been a cherished, wonderful time. So, sure, maybe it was uncomfortable, maybe it was unusually cold, maybe it was, harder to survive and get along, but Paul had an intentionality about winter and a stewarding mindset about winter. How can I make the best of this next season? Same thing shows up in Titus chapter 3. When Paul wrote to Titus, they were apart, and Titus is at the island of Crete now, setting up leaders and purging the church of bad leadership and doing sort of an intervention to bring restoration and revitalization to the churches at Crete. And he writes to Titus and basically says, "I'm sending a replacement for you. And now that the churches are healthy, I want you to come to where I am." Well, at this time, Paul was in Nicopolis, which we don't have any account of this in the book of Acts. This was likely some other time in his travel, maybe after his first journey to Rome. Nicopolis is on the western shore of Greece, up the northern to the northern part of the western coast of Greece. And he says, "When I shall send Artemas unto thee, or Tychicus, be diligent to come unto me to Nicopolis, for I have determined there to winter." Same thing. Paul wants Titus to come spend the winter with him in Nicopolis. So already we get the sense that when you're a disciple of Jesus, when you're a leader, You look at the winter time as a time to grow personally, but a time to invest into others personally. And I want to challenge you just right here from the outset. If you have if you have a group, a class, if you have a team, a ministry you serve in, if you have someone you're discipling, and if you don't and would like one, let us know, because we can pair you up with a new believer you could disciple through the winter months. What a great use of your winter. How can you take your next steps spiritually, but who can you take with you on your next steps spiritually this winter? You want to change winter from gray to bright? You want to change winter from cold and icy and lonely to alive with life and fellowship? And I'm not talking about big gatherings. COVID's compressed a lot of that, at least for now. Right now, the church is functioning online and with smaller gatherings and scaled down gatherings and with one-on-one or two-on-two or even family with family gatherings. And our church is strong and healthy, and our church family is connected and growing in grace. New believers are being reached and disciples are being made, and we're seeing people become followers of Jesus and new families added and new believers in our growth track classes and people being baptized. It's been a fruitful season for our church, but it's been a different season, and we have to be more intentional. Okay, we can't all 800 or 1,000 of us jam into the auditorium or have a big Thanksgiving service or a big Christmas concert. We can't do these things. So it's going to be more intentional. It's going to be about you loving the people within your reach and those people loving the people within their reach. It's going to be about you and me and each of us saying, how am I going to take my next step spiritually? How am I going to disciple and grow myself, be discipled myself? And then who can I take with me? Who can I pray with, meet with, converse with? What group? How can I join an online group? We're introducing a whole new group format in January just to get us through COVID. I'm so excited about it. Just pray towards it. Look forward to it with anticipation. We'll tell you more about it later in December and early in the new year. But Paul looked at the winter and said, who can I get to come be with me for winter so we can grow together and encourage one another? You need that, and I need that. So God has a lot to say about winter, and it's a stewardship. It's a season created by God. It's an opportunity to slow down a little bit, hopefully, and COVID's slowing us down even more, right? It's an opportunity to be indoors more, maybe enjoy a fire and some hot tea and a change of weather and some beautiful snowfalls. We'll see. But it is an opportunity to cultivate a deeper, healthy relationship with God and a deeper, healthy relationship with those in your family, your marriage, your kids, your extended family, and with believers that you're close to and those that you're trying to reach. So many of your friends who don't know Jesus would join a live stream, maybe would join a group, would watch a video, read a book, read a done book, read Stop Trying. So many people in our culture are hungry for something spiritually to navigate them through this time, and something substantive and truthful, and some hope and some human interactivity that is in some way optimistic and hopeful and joyful. So church, this is a chance of a lifetime to reach people with the gospel. Now, albeit we have to reach them differently, but it is a golden opportunity to reach people for the gospel. So with that said, let me give you my Thrive list, okay? This is my 9th winter in New England. Does that count? Like, am I grafted in now? Am I a part of the woodwork now? Do I count as a New Englander? How many years does it take? Am I still a young pup, or does 9 years qualify me? I don't know what the qualifications. You help me out. Email me, pastor@ebcnewington.com. Let me know when I'm really a member of the club. All I know is it's been a long scientific study of hacking winter and figuring out how to keep my body healthy and warm. There is a science to it, and how to keep my emotions out of the winter fog and the winter glum. And I think the first 2 years I struggled. The next 2 years I experimented, tried to figure it out. And the last 4 years, it's pretty much been a thriving experience. And in that regards, I'm already enjoying it. I'm looking forward to it. And I want to give you my Thrive list. Make this your winter checklist to help you grow immensely this season, and how to win spiritually, how to win emotionally, how to keep the dark, shorter days and the cold temperatures and the low gray clouds from eating you up emotionally. So maybe you can add to your own list. Maybe you'd start with my 10 or 11 checkpoints. Maybe you'll add your own, because I think it is not just a science that is kind of a human science, but it's also a personal science. What will lift you, strengthen you this winter? All right. So, number 1, worship fights winter lows. Devote yourself and your family to weekly worship. Now, I realize COVID has switched this all around, okay? So whether in the room with us at church, or whether online, or whether you're somewhere else meeting with some other church, I want to encourage you to make a commitment, to make a covenant with your God. I will be with my church family in heart or in person, online or physically. I will open my heart. I will open my Bible. I will receive from Jesus. I will worship Jesus in a sense that is corporate. I will regather as soon as possible. I won't let not gathering become a normal thing or an acceptable thing in my life. I promise you, nothing will beat this devoted weekly commitment in your life. I encourage you to avoid the drift that is happening because of COVID, or that's tempted to be happening. The drift that can happen to just once or twice a month, kind of dipping your toe into the shallow end of spiritual things. Every 7 days, decide you will celebrate a Sabbath day of worship and rest with your family and your God, and decide you will love, grow, and serve. There's nothing more healthy for your spiritual flourishing and for the long-term trajectory of your life and your family. All right. So, number 1, worship fights the winter lows. Number 2, bright environments fight winter lows. In this, I'm talking about addressing the impact of your environments. Now, I don't know what your home or living space, apartment, rented room, basement unit, I don't know what it looks like, but I know this: your environments impact your emotions. Winter impacts us psychologically. And what changes about winter that is so out of the norm? Well, the days are shorter. So where I live, the sun comes up about 7:30 or 8, and it starts to really go down about 3:30. And so the days are really short, and we deal with a lot of darkness. Not only that, the days that are often are gray, and the clouds are low. Today was a gray day in Connecticut, and I got to thinking about noon or 1. I was out middle of the day, and it felt like it was dusk. So we deal with not a lot of sunshine. We deal with a lot of gray. The world is gray. The colors are muted. And then we deal with the cold temperature. We deal with an immune system that gets suppressed, and we get more easily sick. And on top of all those norms, we're dealing with COVID. And different states are going through lockdowns and procedures and ebbing and flowing, and we can't gather and thrive like we normally would with our church family. And so it is all the more important that you become objective about your environments, that you become aware of your surroundings, your immediate world. And I'm going to give you a list of things that impact you emotionally and psychologically, and that, therefore, spiritually on some level: light, sound, music, smell, temperature, color, airflow, and even clothing choices. All of them impact you. So, little things that I've done, or that Dana and I have done. We've made our house as ready as we can for winter. We've painted with bright colors. We've installed brighter LED soft white, not the bright white, the soft white. See, soft white makes you feel like the light is hugging you. The bright white light makes you feel like you're in an interrogation chamber in a state correctional facility, okay? So don't get the bright white lights. Get the warm, the soft white lights. When you look at the temperature on the light bulb box, don't get the 5,000. Get the 2,700 or the 3,000 Kelvin color hue. It's gonna reach out and hug your psyche, okay? And you'll thank me. But think about sound. Think about music. Think about temperature and color And what are you surrounded by? And think about, is air moving? Any room where the air is not moving ultimately begins to feel depressive. But if air is moving, even if it's just a slight motion from a fan, it stimulates the follicles, the hair, and it wakes you up and it makes you feel more alive. So Dana and I have tried to address all those things in our environments. We light smelly candles when they don't give me chest problems. We use air fresheners. You know something else I do? I declutter. We declutter. Our homes just tend to gather clutter, and when you're surrounded by clutter, you feel boxed in and you feel chaotic. You feel like your world is confused. Boy, you clean up a space, you'll be amazed how different you'll feel about it and about life. So pay great attention to your environments. Brighten them up, cheer them up, and lighten them up, and you'll be thankful. Number three, physical movement and blood flow fights winter lows. Hey, purposefully cultivate your physical health for mental health, okay? Now, this is not just looking at spiritual worship, not just looking at environmental, light and color and temperature and all that, but now this is looking at the physical, okay? And here's what we're tempted to do with winter. We're tempted to eat a lot of junk food, and by the way, I love junk food. I love junk food. You give me a box of Count Chocula, I can eat the whole thing in one sitting. I love junk food. I gotta be careful. It's not about never having any treats or delights. It's about moderation. So, when it comes to physical energy, when it comes to physical health, I'm going to talk about nutrition next, but think movement, okay? Now, you may or may not be the exercise king. I'm not really the exercise king. I do 30 to 60 minutes a day on an elliptical. It's not rocket science. I'm not a personal trainer. I'm not a pro. I just know this, the last 4 years, this has been a consistent practice. I would say a minimum of 3 days a week, and better off 5 to 6 days, and then take a day or two of break so you don't burn your body out. But start with 10 or 15 minutes if that's all you can do, and start with a slow pace if that's all you can do. Listen, this is important. Any movement of your body is better than none. You could walk. You could take a walk at a mall. It could be an indoor track. It could be joining a gym. It could be, I just got an elliptical in my basement and an exercise machine with weights. So just a little while on that gets a little blood flowing. I can jump on that elliptical. I can listen to podcasts or watch a movie or even get on the phone and answer phone calls as long as people don't mind me being out of breath while I'm on the phone. But here's what happens. About towards the latter 2/3 of my day, I start to feel that loss of energy. I'm tired. My mind is starting to be spent. If I jump on that elliptical for 30 to 45 or an hour, it creates a whole new blood flow, which creates a whole second wind and new life and new energy. And a lot of times that sedentary winter lull creates a psychological depression as well. And movement and blood flow will jolt your body. Even a brisk walk, if you can tolerate the cold, get outside and breathe that cold air. It'll wake you up, it'll stimulate your body, and it will encourage you and fight that low. Number 4, let's talk about nutrition. Physical nutrition fights winter lows. So here it is. Be mindful of the impact of various nutrients, okay? I'm not saying don't eat a donut. I love a donut. I'm saying moderation and awareness, okay? So what nutrients impact our emotions? Well, probably vitamin D would come to the top of the list. And for a lot of the year, we just naturally get it from the sunshine. But during the winter, a lot of us fall into a vitamin D deficiency. So 5 years ago, I went to Sam's Club or Costco, and I bought little pills that are 2,000 IUs of vitamin D, and now I take 2 of those every single day, all the way through the winter. I started that a year ago this month, and I started the 4,000. I was doing 2,000 for many years, but now I do 4, and I can tell you that's going to make your immune system stronger. It's going to cheer you up. So sometimes your winter lows are fatigue. You're tired, so you need a nap. Sometimes it's circumstantial. You're having a bad day. Sometimes it's spiritual and you need to worship, walk with the Lord, get into his word. But sometimes it might be dietary. It might be a vitamin D deficiency. It might be carbs. It might be just too many chips and brownies and pretzels and cookies and cake and pie, okay? And I love it all. But I know if I eat like that for more than a couple days, it really makes me feel like I'm just in a mental sludge. So, feed your body the right stuff. You're going to fight the blahs. You're going to fight the winter feelings of depression. Hey, have the cookies. But here's what I do. I'm just telling you what I do. And it works for me. You know, Thanksgiving, I binge on Thanksgiving for 2 or 3 days. It was wonderful. It was awesome. But then the next week, I get my body right back on track. And so I never did this season yet fall into that long. What happens is we get into the cookie mode, and now it's 2 and 3 weeks into the cookie and pie mode, and now it's 4 weeks in, and now we're binge watching television shows and eating entire boxes of Pop-Tarts and entire sleeves of Fig Newtons and entire bags of Lay's potato chips. And by the time winter comes out, we've put on 30 pounds and we're totally depressed. But we know everything that's on every streaming service because we've seen it all. My friend, don't fall into that ditch, okay? Moderation is the key. So when it comes to physical movement, anything that you'll continue to do is better than trying to binge a system that you'll only do once or twice and then give up, okay? So give yourself attainable goals, measurable goals. Walk for 10 minutes. Stand up while you're working. Do some other things, move your body, and then discipline to make sure you're getting a balanced input of nutrition and that your body is being fueled properly, and you're not overdosing on the carbs that are just going to kick you into that thick, winter funk and emotional low. All right, moving on. Number five, sunshine fights winter lows. Now, I just said a little while ago that we're missing the sun a lot during the winter and gray days and things like that, the short days. So find the sun and soak it up. In those rare moments when the sun is shining, sit close to a window, absorb what you can. Some have said go to a tanning salon. That works. Your dermatologist may not be in favor of it, but it works. Maybe there's some other way. Maybe there's a light you can purchase in your restroom. Maybe there's a special light bulb. I'm not really sure. I know this, that when it's a sunny day, for me, just for instance, this past week we had some sunny days. I woke up early. I sat out by the kitchen window as the sun was coming up, and I just soaked that sun up for an hour or two while I spent time with the Lord, prayed for our church family, and that's healthy. When you walk into a restaurant, look for the window. They're gonna sit you in the back dark corner. Just say, hey, could you sit me by the window? Be aware. Be conscious of where the light is and try to get into that light, especially when it's sunlight, because it's going to have a good impact on you. Number 6. Now, we said worship earlier. I talked about corporate worship, group worship with your church family weekly. But now, number 6, personal worship fights winter lows. Be strategic about your relationship with the Lord Jesus and make a decision. Not only will my church feed me, I will feed my own soul this winter. I will engage with God's Word. There are devotional books. There are reading plans. There's inspirational reading. There are good books. Let me give you a few. Tim Keller's book, Prodigal God, life-changing book. J.I. Packer's book, Knowing God, life-changing book. Henry Blackaby's book, Experiencing God, life-changing, completely transformational. A chapter a week, a chapter every 2 weeks, a chapter every few days. I'll be writing a reading plan on YouVersion, the YouVersion Bible app, for the new book, Stop Trying. Maybe you'd like to pick up Stop Trying and the reading plan and do that as a devotional through January or February. Whatever God would lead you to do, there's lots of great resources and content. We have on our church website 8.5 years of sermon content, Bible study content. You could go through the whole book of Luke this winter. 2 series, Follow and Devoted, cover the entire book of Luke. You could go through the book of Acts in 5 series. And that starts with Restart. And then there's 5 series that take you through every verse and chapter of the book of Acts. You will learn immensely about the Word of God and the Lord Jesus and New Testament believers. But decide you're not going to give all of your attention to Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and the streaming services. You're not going to give all of your time to the mainstream media or the mainstream providers of entertainment. Decide intentionally you're going to engage devotionally and spiritually, and you're going to grow spiritually this summer. Maybe partner up, maybe do a reading club, maybe do a Zoom meeting with reading and decide you'll all read the same book, and then you'll get online once a week and share what God's teaching you. You can grow immensely this winter with that kind of attention. Number seven, healthy relationships fight winter lows. So get around people who lift you up. Now, I realize, again, COVID has put a bit of a crimp on this. You may do this differently than you would have done it. It may be smaller groups. It may be family. It may be one-on-one. It may be over Zoom or FaceTime on a device. But the temptation during the winter is to withdraw. And that withdrawal tends to isolation. You get mired into loneliness, and it becomes worse. Isolation breeds more isolation. Depression breeds deeper depression, and it makes things worse in your life. So decide you'll swim upstream and reverse this cycle. I realize COVID's made it a little bit more difficult, but be intentional. We're going to, like I said, revamp all of our groups coming into January and try to engage all of our church family in a growth group model that is easy, that's online, that's safe, but that will benefit you immensely. We're so excited about it, and I hope you'll be intentional about your own spiritual growth and helping those around you as well. Which leads me to number 8. Number 8, serving others fights winter lows. Involve yourself in blessing others through the ministry. Now again, this may look different. So much of ministry looks different right now. But instead of, just folding our arms and going, oh, well, we can't do what we want to do, or we can't do what we used to do, instead of just twiddling our thumbs and waiting for COVID to pass, why not ask ourselves, what can we do? What can I do when it comes to serving others? 9 months ago, I was so tempted to be depressed about COVID because it changed everything about ministry. I mean, right now, I am teaching to you via camera, and it's not a personal experience. Now, in my mind, it is. It's like we're sitting here having coffee, and I'm so glad you joined me. But it's just relationally for me, I'm not drawing like I normally would from the corporate life of the church. But you know what I decided 9 months ago? This is God's doing. God's on his script. This is God in God's hands. He does all things well. This is his church, his school, his people. You belong to him. And instead of moaning and groaning and self-pity and griping, what can I do? And you know what I decided? I can write the church family. I can pray for the church family. I can reach out. I can teach the Bible. I can get on video. We can live stream. I can do a daily devotion. We can reach people. We can disciple people. There's a lot of things we still can do as a church. And we have done, and we will do those things. So what can you do? Could you deliver a meal? Could you make a phone call to a hurting person, a lonely person? Could you stop by someone's house to check on them? Now, we have something we call at our church care teams. A care team. Pastor Stephen leads this. Would you like to be on the care team? You could write, phone call, you get an email every week of people in the church that are hurting, suffering, dealing with surgeries and sicknesses and problems. That care team organizes meal deliveries for people that are going through hardship. And it's one way our church serves. You could be on the care team. You could engage in a group. You could help to lead a group. You could help to facilitate the leader of a group. There are so many ways that you can serve and bless others. You can bake cookies and give them to somebody. And if you can't find anybody to give a cookie to, I will fill that gap. I will find the gap in that wall, and I will stand in that gap. I will see the need and take the lead. I will be your go-to person. If you need an eater of cookies, call on me. I take my cookie eating very seriously. It's one of my great spiritual gifts. Okay. So serve others, and your joy will increase, and so will theirs. Number 9, Sharing the gospel fights winter lows. Now, I realize, again, sharing the gospel may not look like it used to look. But that doesn't mean we can't still share the gospel. Listen, we are surrounded. We are surrounded by depressed, hurting, like blank stare people. They just have lost their sense of where they are in life and where this is going. More hearts are open to the gospel. Now, I realize some hearts are harder. See, hardship, suffering, trials harden hard hearts, but soften seeking hearts. And to some degree, this last 9 months has broken some people. And there's some people within your care and within your reach that are broken right now. And they don't know the Lord. And they would read a done book. They would join us on live stream. They would watch Enough for Today. They would read a book or join a group and go through a book or a study. They would, but somebody's got to invite them. Somebody's got to ask them. It might look different. Last week, I got to share the gospel with a repairman that came to our house. One lady in our church said everybody that delivers groceries to her, she gives them a done book. How will you give the gospel to somebody within your reach? Don't let many hard hearts keep you from giving the gospel to a few soft, seeking, tender hearts that God strategically intersected you with. Don't stop inviting people into the realm of hearing the gospel through our church. Now, whether you give them the gospel, whether you give them a done book or a link to the videos or Enough for Today or the church online, or you just invite them to come and hear the gospel, my commitment to you is I'm going to keep preaching the gospel, okay? You keep inviting people to hear it, I'll keep preaching it. And I believe God's going to give us fruit. And we've seen some amazing fruit this season. New believers, getting baptized, saved, baptized, added to the church, growing in growth track. It's been amazing. All right. Number 10, prayerful dependence fights winter lows. Grow the habit of casting your care. So this is, I think, 1 Peter, 2 Peter, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. This is a wonderful habit, but it's got to be intentional. Take that nagging burden, that unresolved problem, that thing that just camps in the back of your brain and chews on your mind at night, that tosses and turns, causes you to toss and turn, that just eats at you, and throw it and yourself into the hands of Jesus and say this out loud. Lord, these are your problems, and I'm looking forward to seeing what your plan is to fix them. Like, I can't wait to see how you're going to solve this. I'm speaking about this personally. This discipline has saved my life the last 10 years. I've come into impossible circumstances time and time and time again. And I know it's because I've seen God deliver me and us so many times. It's a lot because of your prayers. But impossible circumstances that I go, God, I don't know what to do with this. This is your problem. This is your church. I'm yours. This is your school. These are your people. How are you going to solve this? And he always does. He always leads us through. The staff said to me this week, thanks for leading us through COVID. This is, you've done such a good job leading us. And I just laughed. I said, I wouldn't call this leading. I would call this tripping my way along, following Jesus. But he sure has led us very well. And he will continue to do so. This is the Lord's doing. This is God's season in our lives. This is his script. He's handling things well. He's handling you well. He's handling our church well. I trust him. Do you? So let's do what we can, and let's throw our cares into his hands and know that he's going to give us the grace and strength we need when we need it. Let me tell you something about your winter that I know for sure, about your dependence on Jesus. Because you belong to him, you're going to have everything you need when you need it. You might not have it before you need it. You might think you need some things you don't need. But I promise you, you're going to have everything you need when you need it. So here's my bonus, okay? I've got a bonus, number 11. Thanks for sticking with me. The bonus is this: little gifts that cheer you fight winter lows. Purposefully decide to take breaks from winter, okay? Now, at some point this winter, you may be privileged, and COVID may allow us to jump on a plane and go to a sunny, warm place. If you can do that, great. But in place of that, you know what I do? I look for the little gifts that God's given me in my life that just delight me. My wife does the same thing. She likes Yankee candles and a warmly decorated home. I love a good fire and great coffee. I'm at the bottom of a great bag of coffee right now from Mexico. It was delicious. Dana likes soft, warm shirts and warm throw blankets that she can say they're cozy. I like Christmas lights. All year long, I like Christmas lights. Ice cream. It's one of my primary motivations for exercise, so that I can eat ice cream and a good donut. Dana likes romantic Christmas movies. Every day that I do not watch a romantic Christmas movie is a happy day for me. It's a joyful day. So find out what cheers you up. Deliberately engage in it. Enjoy it as a gift from God. There's these cookies at Stu Leonard's that I just love. Dad's favorite cookies. Sometime this week, I'll go buy a box of those cookies just because they cheer me up. I'll work really hard through the day, and somewhere about 3 or 4 o'clock, I will go upstairs, or I'll go up from the office up to the house, and I will grab one of those cookies and reward myself. And I just look forward to that all day. I'm like a dolphin at SeaWorld, and the cookie is my reward for doing a good job. Okay, so find those things you like. And maybe it's a phone call, maybe it's a song, maybe it's a snack, maybe it's something to laugh at, maybe it's a favorite spot to have lunch. Don't underestimate the power of God's little gift. Choose this winter not to waste your winter. It's a stewardship, it's an opportunity, it's a chance to grow. COVID is an opportunity, it's a stewardship. COVID has given us some opportunities that nothing else in life would have or could have. So choose that you're going to grow this winter. Choose that you're going to belong to Jesus, follow him, trust him in this season, and choose that you're going to do in this season what you couldn't do in the last and what you may not be able to do in the next. Choose that you're going to plant some seeds right now that will be growing a harvest this summer, next year, and 10 years from now. Use this time, use this winter to rest and plant seeds for a wonderful harvest. I've found these 11 things to be profoundly wonderful, helpful, powerful, practical in my own life. So I wanted to share them with you. I will post these things on my blog. We've given them out before to our church family. I hope you will share this video with a friend. Someone near you can be encouraged by these things we've talked about. Thanks for joining me. If you're a part of our church family, please know I love you and miss you. And if I don't see you before Christmas, Merry Christmas. If you're a friend that's joined us by way of video from somewhere else around the world, thanks for being a part of Emmanuel family abroad. Thank you for being a part of our extended family. Pray that God will use this video to encourage others to continue along the journey with us spiritually at Emmanuel Baptist Church, ebcnewington.com. I will join you tomorrow and every day, Monday through Friday, on Enough for Today. I hope you'll join me there. Hope you'll worship with us this Sunday at 9 o'clock, 10:30, and noon, live, online, or in person. My friend, winter is a gift. Don't waste it. Grow through this winter. Bring someone along with you. Have a great night.